This that is never good, but I was but when I get the goodness, I first of all, there's stage and I keep it on the kid down there. Wait, who do you even play for? Tebow.
Hello there, Hawkeye fans, and welcome to the Rapid Reaction Podcast here on Hawks Fanatic. I am Rob Howe, joined by Jovan Johnson and Jordan Canzeri, former Hawkeyes. It is Saturday, September 16th, just before 7 p.m. Central Time. We're going to have some reaction here to the 41-10 Western Michigan victory today at Kinnick Stadium. Only one delay, which was nice. Kind of give an overview of what we saw in the non-conference season as we get ready for the Hawkeyes to head into conference play next week in State College against Penn State. So we're going to have to clean some things up, as they like to say, heading into that game. But can't be better than 3-0 after 3 games, and that's what the Hawkeyes are. Saw some good signs today, some more concerns that, wonky, uneven performance now and then. But at the end of the day, 3-0. As I like to do with these guys, I like to let them kind of have an open floor and give me feedback on kind of what they saw today and just an overview. I think I started with Jovan the first time we did it, so I will start with Jordan this time.
I got this.
Yeah, definitely just
JG the second place over Phoenix.
better than that to start the season. I think the offensive line greatly improved.
Next Saturday at noon Eastern on the Big Ten Network.
Team under 14.
7-0 Michigan. Here's tonight's champions mindset presented by Hampton by Hilton. It's already unfolded here for the Falcons. Big Mike's mistakes.
Who's got the game on?
And then
That's me. I'm sorry. My bad.
I can hear the Michigan game. No, you're good. Jordan, roll that again. I think you kind of cut out a little bit.
No, I mean, just saying you can't get better than starting off 3-0. Just saw a lot of great improvements. Offensive line looked great. I know we'll touch on it. The rushing game was there, and defense to again hold under 14. Just everything you want in an outcome. Injuries wise, not, but to again just start off 3-0, the guys got to be happy.
Yeah, we'll talk about the unfortunate injury to Luke Lachey here in a minute, but want to give Jovan the stage here to express his feelings on what he saw today.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of what Jordan said, anytime you start the season 3-0 against no matter who you play, that's a big deal because, non-conference games are tricky because you don't really see those guys. You don't know what to expect from those guys, but you always want to come out of those non-conference games healthy. And with Luke Lachey going down, that might be a concern in the tight end room, but I know we like to call Iowa tight end U. So I know they got some guys that can fill in and take over, but I was impressed defensively for sure. Impressed, and they got to limit the big plays, but they definitely were outstanding. Again, the run game looked amazing. Obviously, you play Western Michigan. You should dominate up front, but overall, I thought the offense looked good. We could get some a better completion percentage from Cade McNamara, but all in all, when you're able to run the ball, that typically opens up the pass. So you want to see a little bit better pass game. But other than that, I thought they looked well, and I'm looking forward to next week against Penn State.
Yeah, some numbers for folks here before we dive in a little bit more. 254 yards on the ground net rushing, 43 carries, 5.9 yards per carry, 11 for 22 passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 133 yards. What did you see, Jordan, that looked better? Obviously, opponent, there's context, there's nuance to it, but you can only go against who you're going against, and Iowa ran the ball well today. What kind of progress have you seen kind of week to week with that running game?
Well, I mean, we know just from week one that they were having some thoughts and some key positions on the line that they were trading back and forth with, but just seems at least today, again, going against Western Michigan, but the consistency of didn't matter. The running back that kind of took hold did well. Is even real nice at the end to see White get it in for a touchdown, and that stat about his family was pretty cool too. But it's just again when you have multiple running backs that can go in and be successful, that just tells you that the line are communicating, they're moving bodies, and just getting the job done. So it was definitely really good to see. And LaShawn, he just ran hard downhill. Didn't try to do too much, just trusted the holes that were there and one cut downhill. And again, he had himself a day. So it was real good to see. Obviously, as a running back, love to see when the run game goes off.
Yeah, I'm sure Brian White was smiling in the stands seeing his son carried into the end zone. Cedar Rapids Kennedy head coach, good, one of the better programs in the state of Iowa, and had to feel good to see his son taken into the end zone. Jovan, I'm going to throw the offensive line question at you. After the first week, we talked about it. There weren't enough holes there, not consistently, but it was better last week and it looked better this week. Thoughts on the offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, anytime at a vital position like offensive line, it takes time to gel. Building that chemistry and that relationship, understanding the guys next to you on both sides, the right side and the left side, how you guys are working together. Because a lot of times in the Iowa scheme, you're getting combo blocks, up to backers and things like that. So that stuff takes time, learning how to communicate with different players, who's coming off, who's staying on and things like that. That's stuff that they practice, but it takes reps and it takes time for that stuff to start to gel. And over the past 3 weeks, we've seen a dramatic improvement in how those guys have been able to operate together.
Yeah, I agree. Starting to gel at the right time. They're going to need those guys again next week in State College. Quarterback play, guys. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like, and I think we have to give a little bit of a mulligan here. My man Cade missed a lot of camp. This is kind of his training camp, and you can kind of see just kind of trying to get on the same page as his receivers. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. Jordan, does he look comfortable? What are you seeing from Cade McNamara?
I mean, I would say it's a little difficult where, certain times you do think he is, and especially his demeanor he holds and, how he even speaks and holds himself off the field as well. You definitely have the feeling that he's comfortable, but again, in the game he missed some throws that definitely would have thought he'd be able to hit. And again, it's not like the run game was there, but I do think pass wise, he got hit a little too much than I'm sure Kirk Ferentz was comfortable with. But again, it's just little things like that where, from the first week with him having to bounce out because of his quad and, even Iowa State, it was, we got the win, but offensively still wasn't like a big field day. So, I still think there's just growth. And with a day like today, with the running game kind of opening things up, hopefully they'll kind of find that middle ground for both going forward. But I would say it's probably 50-50.
Jovan, to you on this one, the early in the season, it was obviously with the quad, there weren't boots that, bootlegs. They were trying to keep him in the pocket and keep him protected. Today, he picked up a first down with his legs on a third down. Nice run there. Seems like he's getting some of his mobility back. He seems like one of those quarterbacks that may be more effective on the move a little bit, not running, but just kind of rollouts, boots, stuff like that. Could you see that being the case?
Yeah, for sure. He's a field general, but I think his mobility is what kind of separates him from the rest of the guys that we've seen in Iowa since dating back to Drew Tate and Brad Banks and those types of guys. He has the ability to move and make things happen on the move. Not that he's a excellent runner or anything like that, but guys that can utilize their legs to extend plays, give you an escape lane and get out of the pocket and make things happen. He's that kind of guy. But when you're dealing with a quad injury, sometimes people are questioning, like, why isn't he running, or why isn't he doing this and why isn't he doing that? But they don't understand, like, that quad is something that's going to be on your mind, and it's going to keep you kind of hesitant to do things that you're normally used to doing. But we're starting to see him again. He didn't really do much training camp wise, so we're starting to see him take some strides and get familiar with the receivers that he has and things like that. And the run game obviously helps that a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Just the chemistry. You talked earlier about the chemistry on the offensive line and those guys getting used to, the actions of the other guys. And I think you see that too. Sometimes he's on the same page with the receivers, and sometimes he's a hair off, and maybe, it just takes some more reps, and that stuff will click in. Jovan, I'll stick with you on Jamari Harris. Hadn't played, I think, since the bowl game again, the Cap One Bowl again, the first Kentucky bowl game, like way back. He missed all of last year, the first 2 games this year, and they went at him. And that makes sense. You're not going to go at Cooper DeJean. You're going to go after the other guy. And they went at him. I don't know what you saw in that first deep ball. I think it was a 60-yard pass. You just don't see Iowa's defense give up plays like that very often.
Yeah, you don't. And, when you're on the other side of the field from Cooper DeJean, you got to think and know in your mind that teams are going to come at you. Because you got a guy that's a preseason All-American, all these different accolades and things like that. They're going to probably stay away from him as much as they can. So Jamari just has to understand, the spotlight's going to be on you, and you have to be ready to perform. And, when you give up deep balls, obviously you don't never want to give up the deep ball. One thing about Iowa's defense is they are very successful because they don't give up the plus 15-yard plays. And those deep balls obviously come back to bite you. But I'm sure he's another guy who hasn't played in a long time, trying to get his feet underneath him. And that was just kind of one of those instances where, you get thrown in the fire and then how you respond to that. So we'll see how he does going forward. But I would keep a short leash on that and be ready to go back to the other young kid that was out there, because he performed pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought Deshaun Lee looked real good those first 2 games, and they little bit different game plan. Those were short passing teams those first 2 weeks. Seemed like Western Michigan was more willing to take some shots over the top. Jordan, pass rush again, and this to build on that point, the pass rush the first few weeks was a little bit inconsistent, but it was short passing games. You were playing against teams that were trying to get the ball out quick. Thought it was better today. Thought more pressure on the opposing quarterback and disrupted them more.
Yeah, I mean, more pressure, guys getting to the ball quick. Again, I think the stat said it was the 6th in a row non-conference team held under 14 points. Like that again, like what Jovan said earlier, that when you face teams not that you're used to, you have to expect that they're going to throw things at you haven't seen before, and again, just unorthodox. But for them to still do a great job in holding them at 10 points just says enough. So I really do think, again, that on all fronts, you could see that they offense, defense, and even special teams, my man Taylor just still doing his thing in all areas, took steps forward.
8 different receivers caught passes today. Steven Stylianos, the 3rd team tight end, led 2 catches for 29 yards. We mentioned LaShawn Williams, 12 carries for 145. That's a 12.1 average. That's pretty good. Kamari Moulton, true freshman from Florida, saw his first action of the season. 8 carries for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nice way to break in. Terrell Washington Jr., another true freshman from Texas, 6 carries for 31 yards. So the top 3 backs all over 5 yards a carry. Love to see that. Jazz Patterson got in there early. Just didn't have, I don't know, couldn't get himself going. And it's a position where Iowa's very deep, and that doesn't mean Jazz won't come back soon and play well, and Caleb Johnson won't come back. It's just a very healthy position right now, and that's a good thing for Iowa. Going to take a break here. Want to let folks know that support for this podcast comes from Systems Unlimited, celebrating 50 years of providing services to people living with disabilities and mental health needs throughout East Central Iowa. A list of their services and upcoming events can be found at sui.org. We'll hear from a couple more sponsors here, and we'll be back on the other side. And we're back. Hawkeye fans, if you're looking for something to decorate your Hawkeye room at home, at the office, whatever, you got to check out underthekitchen.square.site. That is underthekitchen.square.site. Randy Ingles' artwork can be found there. Tim Dwight, Spencer Lee, Keegan and Chris Murray, bunch of former Hawkeyes he has images of, and they're reasonably priced and come with certificates of authenticity. So check out Randy Ingles' artwork at underthekitchen.square.site. Jordan will let us into the break with the special teams conversation. I thought the perfect complementary football. We hear the coach talk about the complementary football tour blue in the face, and or he's blue in the face. But the punt down to the one, the defense holds, short field, LaShawn Williams touchdown. It was like boom, boom, boom. And I thought that kind of gave Iowa the spark it needed, Jovan. It seems like the defense and the special teams are still right there, still really super good. Going into the Big Ten, it's just a matter of, can this offense be good enough to complement those two consistently? I think that's the key. We've seen flashes so far. Can it do it consistently?
Yeah, I mean, anytime going into Big Ten play, you want to have your defense and your special teams on point. I mean, it's a three-phase football game, but defensively and special teams wise, it's a lot easier to kind of gel a lot sooner than it is offensively when you have moving parts. But I think our defense at Iowa is good enough, and our special teams is good enough to allow the offense time to just get their traction going. But you would like to see those guys, clicking on all cylinders, but it's going to take, you can't expect it to happen in first quarter of the Penn State game, but you expect it to be coming soon. So I think they're going to be doing just fine.
You hear him compliment the offense and say it takes longer to learn offense than defense, Jordan?
It does. We have a lot less terminology, a lot less calls, and all of that stuff. Iowa played the defense with practically one coverage the whole year.
The irony with that is, Jordan, is everybody thinks they can coach offense. Everybody's an offensive coordinator, right? Nobody says, "Oh, I would have called this defense." Everybody's like, "Oh, I would have called this on offense." So, you seeing the same things though? Just kind of that, almost a methodical improvement, development here through the first 3 weeks.
I mean, yeah, it's again, just stats show, Western Michigan or not, they said it was the highest points we've scored since 2021 against Maryland. So
yeah, that night game at Maryland.
Yeah, so that's obviously a good step forward. But yeah, I mean, it's again, Cade will just continue to get more comfortable. We got a lot of different people touching the football, so that means all of those individuals will just continue to gain confidence. So I do think we are in a much better position offensively going into the Big Ten than we have been in the past 2 years. So that definitely is just good to know and good to feel. But the test, as we said, is next week. So I think it'll be in a place that the defense, again, just for what Parker does, will have them in the right positions. Illinois played Penn State well, so I'll put our defense against theirs any day. So again, our offense just has to make plays when they get put in those positions, and hopefully special teams can help out again. But yeah, like the example you gave, it's just the perfect scenario, perfect telltale of like what the three sides of the football are supposed to do in complementary other. So just hope it all transitions into next week.
Jovan, I don't know if you guys caught this on TV. Brian Ferentz kind of got a little upset there at the end of the first half, threw the headset, got into Cade a little bit. That was the interception, I think, in the end zone where he missed an open guy. I'm sure he's getting ripped on social media because everybody loves to rip Brian, but Iowa played better after that.
You need that. I mean, as a player, you need that. Sometimes you don't understand that you're not performing to the best of your ability until your coach chews you out and lets you know that you can be better. So he needed that. And I deal with that same sort of situation with my quarterback right now is, sometimes you see things that are there and then, you go away from it, like trust your instinct, trust your arm, do what you need to do, get the ball to the guys you need to get it to. But it was good to see Brian actually show some emotion and chew into the quarterback a little bit and then him play better after that.
Your thoughts on that, Jordan? I know being a head coach now, you have to probably have a read on what kids can take, what kids can handle that type of coaching and what kids can't. I haven't been around Cade a lot just since he got here, but he seems like a kid that's kind of wired to handle that. And it looked like it helped him.
Yeah, I mean, when you are around certain individuals for a long enough time, you do start to realize how they can kind of take certain criticisms and how you can talk to them. Some just to be straight honest, I mean, some coaches, they're just hot-headed. They just like to yell. But Brian Ferentz, knowing him, he is a guy that will talk to you calm, cool, collective, but he'll rip you when he needs to. And the one thing even for the touchdown with White that, as soon as it happened, one of my thoughts was, I bet there's going to be people online saying, oh, he's just trying to run up the score for that average of his. But when it's fourth down, that close to the end zone, kicking a field goal would still boost that average or whatever. But when you know the story of that kid and that walkthrough and what he's put himself through for that program, he deserved a chance for a touchdown. So it's like little things like that people might question and, think that it's with the wrong motive. But, I was, again, real happy to see that deserving player, White, get in there. And yeah, he's definitely putting in the guys in the right scenarios, ripping Cade when he needs to. And like you said, after that, they played a lot better. So, you can't there's not much negativity to really like point out on his leadership today.
Yeah. And I know we're going to have to deal with this 25 points a game bullshit all year, and I'm growing tired of it already. I think you guys can speak to this as well. Kirk Ferentz would be fine if they scored 22 points a game, as long as they won 10, 11, 12 games. I don't think my opinion of this coming into the season, Jovan, is they're not motivated by they're not looking at, hey, we're scoring this many points a game. They're looking at, what do we need to do to, as we talked about earlier, to put the three phases together to complement each other so we can win as many games as possible. Would you be surprised if Kirk Ferentz says, I'm motivated to make sure that we score 25 points a game because that's what everybody's watching?
I don't think he's wired that way. I know, knowing Kirk and knowing most of the guys on the staff, they're okay with wins and losses. Like if they're winning, it don't matter how ugly it might be. If it's 17-10 defensive battle, people have to understand Iowa has traditionally been a defensive oriented dominant team. So yes, there's been a lot of electric offensive guys, and they've had some years where offensively they've been outstanding, but the defense is what makes the team go. So winning a game 10-7 or 21-14 or whatever the case may be, is not about how many points you necessarily put on the other opponent. But, you know, in the minds of others outside of the football world, all they see is how many points they're scoring. They don't understand that, you know, these guys are on scholarship just as well as Iowa players. They're good players who got scholarships to play college football as well. So you got to understand, it's not easy to go out there and just put up 25 points every week. Like that's the bare minimum for what they want him to try to do. But that's not easy to get done. Like, it's not like every college football program scoring 25 points or more every week. Like that's impossible to have that number be the standard of what you expect out of the offense.
Couple more points here and I'll let you guys roll. First of all, we missed last week. We couldn't get our schedules to line up, but I just wanted to let each of you guys talk about Coach Ferentz and you know, now that you're in the coaching business, I'm sure you have even a greater appreciation for what the guy's been able to accomplish. 200 wins, Jovan, in college football it's tough to even comprehend.
Yeah, super amazing. Like such a surreal moment. You know, just as a player that's played under his tutelage and, you know, his leadership and command, understanding how he's wired and you know, just the way he's all about the players and how, you know, the program's doing and things like that. Like, it was such an amazing thing for him to get his 200 win and it'd be against Iowa State to bring the trophy back to Iowa. So, you know, I texted him after the game and just told him congratulations and how proud of him I am. And, you know, and it's just one of those moments, you know, milestones of his career that, you know, when you get to that point, you know you've been trending in the right direction, because 200 wins are hard to come by.
Yeah, Jordan, your thoughts on that? Obviously, you and Jovan both took over high school programs where you're trying to rebuild, and that's what Coach Ferentz did back in 1999, and he built it and has sustained it. So it's really an interesting. It's really a model that I think most coaches would love to have.
Yeah, and it's one of those scenarios where comprehension of the game itself is like kind of layers. And if you're a person who just loves football and loves to watch it, but you've never played, you can still care and you could still like be invested, but you only have a certain understanding once you're like fully enveloped and dedicated your life to the game. And then if you get into coaching, it's like you can say all that you want to, hope all that you want to, but then reality sits in where, you know, the game ain't fair. It doesn't matter how nice you are, as good of a person you are, winning is what matters. And especially when you're on a platform of college football, that high level, everything televised, everything put out into the open. One of the announcers even said, and that he asked Kirk about, you know, he said he didn't mean it to sound rude, but he just like, why do you still do this? Like, why are you still doing this when you've coached long enough, you've done enough, you've been through so much ups and downs of the program? But again, it's just a testament to him caring, one, about the tradition, the program, but then two, just for the people that come through. So like, as Jovan said, he can text him. I can text him. Last bowl game, I got the chance to go do chapel down there and got to talk to him, and just, you know, you could just tell when you tell him about things you're doing for your life, how it's not just like a fake face of just saying, oh, good. Like he really does care. And to now be a high school head coach in a definitely rebuilding program, it's just the pressure of having those many individuals underneath your wing and your responsibility, and it just really, again, just widens your perspective of an admiration of a guy like Kirk, to, again, just what he has done as a coach and the people's lives he's affected. So, it's just different things like that that really this year has opened my eyes for and appreciated a lot more. And just hopefully, I can do somewhat of the success he's done for Iowa here at my school.
Next step is next Saturday in State College. Hey, maybe it's another 6-4 game. Hey, he'll be fine if they win it 6-4 out. And you remember that, Jovan?
I played in that game. That game was crazy. 6-4.
6-4.
Oh
yeah.
my stars.
Yeah,
baseball score.
That was the week his dad passed away too. So there was a lot of emotion with that game. And obviously that's one of those games in his career that I think everybody remembers just because of the extenuating circumstances and then the oddness of a 6-4 score. Jovan, obviously Iowa's the underdog next week. It's in State College. It's a night game. I don't know if it's a whiteout, but there's going to be over 100K. What are some things you think need to happen for Iowa to be able to pull off this upset?
They just have to start fast. You don't want to get behind, especially behind by a large margin early. They got to start fast, try to establish the run, get the passing game kind of going a little bit, and just be able to control the tempo of the game. It's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy. But they just have to play within their own skin. Like, don't let the environment kind of overtake you and suck you in. As long as you can stay focused out there and understand what the task is and execute, that'll be the biggest thing. How well will they execute in that environment? And then defensively, just play outstanding defensive football. Keep the scores down. Don't give up the big play. And I think they'll give themselves a chance to win without a doubt.
Yeah, it's a tough challenge, Jordan. They've got a pair of really good running backs. The young quarterback is really good. So the pressure that Iowa showed today, able to get on the quarterback, that's going to be important next week as well. What are some keys for you, Jordan, in terms of Iowa being able to pull off the upset next week?
I mean, just showing even what we did today, putting pressure on the quarterback. He's good, but again, he is young. Where if any sort of momentum shifts, we got to be able to take that and use it to our advantage. And the big thing, especially going into a hostile environment like that and going against a team like that, limited turnovers and having to make the plays that are there for us. So, if Cade puts the ball on the money, a receiver or tight end in the end zone can't drop it. Or if it's a big third down conversion, you can't drop it. It's just like little things like that you can't expect you'll get again. So you've got to take advantage of every play that comes your way. And again, make sure that when we have the ball, we hold on to it, and defense just does what they do. But I trust Phil. Trust Coach Ferentz. I think we fuel ourselves off of those types of environments too. So I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, no doubt. Iowa seems to relish the underdog role, and that will be the role next week. Probably the national talking heads will give them no chance to win against what is now 7th ranked Penn State. We'll see if they move up at all. I haven't seen what else happened around the country, but that is a 6:30 Central Time kickoff if you're in Iowa. If you're out in State College, 7:30 Eastern Time. So get there early. The traffic in and out of that place is a pain in the ass. So if you're going to State College, make sure you give yourself plenty of time. Want to thank these guys again for their expertise for another week, and we'll figure out what we're going to do next week with that late game, whether we're able to get together after the game or we do something Sunday morning, but we will let you folks know where we will appear and where we will recap that game. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you for listening. Thank you to our sponsors, and we'll be back to talk to you